I mean, there's a lot to talk about that we haven't discussed up to this point. Chris Evans' announcement for Doomsday.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch. We talked a little bit about Kraven, but we haven't talked about the new thing on Sony. So I think there's a lot we can get into in this one. And let's get started. Welcome back to Capes, Cowls, and Conversations. My name's Tim Neal. I'm here with my son Cameron, and we are talking all things comics, comic book movies, comic book shows, Comic-Cons, whatever we find news on to talk about or whatever new shows are out, we're going to talk about them. And today, there was some really interesting news that came out related to Sony. You saw that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They are supposedly dismissing all of their plans, all their current Sony Spider-Man plans.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked by that. It seemed like they were never going to give up, no matter how bad the audience reception was. They just had no intention of giving up on it. And then all of a sudden, this announcement right before the movie comes out, it's kind of like, was it Shazam 2 or was it Blue Beetle, where the announcement was made, none of these movies are going to be related to the DC. And so then the reception was terrible for the movie.
Oh, Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Where, yeah. Well, I mean, it was
there were a lot of things bad about
it was
Black
like
Adam.
4 movies in a row. The first one was Batgirl, and then they just were like,
no, but there was specifically right before the movie came out. I don't remember which one it was, but DC made this announcement like, we're walking away from all the Justice League stuff.
Oh, yeah, that was Black Adam. That was because they had spent the entire marketing material being like, this is the new power of the DC universe. So then, and then they did the Henry Cavill cameo, and then like the week before, they backed out of it completely. So Superman is... We're not doing it. It's completely...
And so then the movie, I mean, already a terrible movie to begin with, lost any fan support because fans are like, why do I want to go watch this? It's not going to be followed up on in any way whatsoever. I feel like Sony has done that to themselves with Kraven the Hunter to the point that people are not going to go watch it now. And I think that's terrible because I saw the first 8 minutes. We watched the trailer together the other day. And I have been really excited about this movie coming out because for me, it looks like the first time that Sony did a good job, and it's going to get ruined by this announcement that, you know what, we're not going to follow up on it anyway. So never mind.
I don't think it's exactly the same because I think people were uninterested as soon as Madam Web came out. Like the second Madam Web came out and it was like you could have put that show as a pilot as a CW show and it would have done better than it did as a movie. And it still probably would have been trash. Like it's just one of those things where I think people lost faith the second they stuck that in the movie theater.
I lost faith the second they made Andrew Garfield's second movie.
I didn't.
Because
I lost faith at Tom Holland.
He's a terrible, terrible Spider-Man.
I lost faith at Tom Holland. But that's only
I don't know how.
Well, so because it was them basically saying we're handing this off to Marvel and we're not focusing on anything else for us.
And Marvel did everything right.
No.
Yes, they did.
No.
Yeah. Everything right.
Disagree heavily. But
there's been nothing better Spider-Man related than what Marvel's done with Spider-Man. Period. Hands down.
That is so far from the truth.
No, it's not.
Okay, not talking about box office numbers. Box office numbers don't mean anything compared to what actually is in the movie.
the qualities of the movies are the storytelling.
Oh,
Way better than anything Sony put together.
Not even
ever.
close. Dude, Sam Raimi's trilogy, as much as I don't like that Spider-Man for my own personal reasons, Sam Raimi's trilogy is way better put together than anything the MCU did.
No.
Yes.
No.
Dude, Spider-Man 2 is still regarded as the best Spider-Man movie of all time. To this day. Like, No Way Home usually falls under that list. And even then, No Way Home doesn't usually get compared because people don't treat it like this. They don't treat it the same. It's like Endgame. You don't compare Endgame to other movies. It's just not the same. You can't. But even then, I actually wouldn't say that No Way Home is as good as, like, when I first watched it, I thought it was great. But I was also kind of just riding off the high of, oh my God, Matt Murdock and Andrew Garfield in the same movie. Like, that's crazy. And Tobey Maguire's back. And that I was riding on that high for so long, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then I went and rewatched it, and
it's still great.
No.
It is.
It falls apart pretty quickly.
It doesn't.
The parts that work are the dynamic between Doctor Strange and Peter. That works really well. The Matt Murdock cameo to this day is probably one of the best scenes in the movie. The parts that fall apart are things like how they kind of soft hinted that, like, Ben Parker existed in Civil War. And then all of a sudden in No Way Home. Oh, and even in Far From Home, there's references to Ben Parker existing. All of a sudden, we're to No Way Home, and his grave just doesn't exist. Like, the character doesn't, like, it's no references, completely gone. May takes his place in telling him the great power with great responsibility line, like he's never heard it before.
That doesn't bother me at all.
That completely bugs me. Like, and it's not that
somebody had to say it, and I think they were very clear with that. With what was the cartoon Across the Spider-Verse? They were very clear that was a moment that had to happen, but it didn't necessarily have to happen with Ben. It just had to happen that someone told him that.
But it's implied.
And by the way, I spoke wrong a second ago. What Marvel did with Spider-Man is the second best thing that's ever been done with Spider-Man.
Remember
Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, easily, hands down, the best thing that's ever been done with Spider-Man ever. And it's barely even Peter Parker. It's mostly Miles.
True, but I mean, that's different people. That's Phil Lord and Chris. Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't want people to hear you. I don't want people to hear you even say that.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who they made Clone High, which I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's really good though.
Is it Star Wars related?
No.
Okay.
It's taking
you say clone, and I'm like, oh, this is another Star Wars garbage.
Clone
thing.
High is scientists who took DNA from famous people of history, and then turned them into teenagers so that they could see if they could.
That actually sounds fun.
It's really fun. They made them into teenagers, and then their whole goal was to get them to become like powerful leaders again and control the world using these clones. But it's also told in the story of a melodrama. It's making fun of teen dramas in a way. It's so good. The first season is really good. The second season's not as good, but that's because it came out years later and they had different people work on it. Also,
I can see where that would be interesting for sure.
So Phil Lord and Chris Miller,
and they're also the guys from Lego Movie, right, or something.
Yeah,
they do some great stuff. That easily is the best thing that has ever been done with Spider-Man. But following that, the MCU, I know what you're saying, but I think they covered it for them by saying the event has to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to happen with these specific people, and I'm okay with it being Aunt May saying it.
The reason I'm not is because remember when we talked about Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was like, they recontextualized all the other Thor movies with this dumb joke that they've now made canon.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
They've now
with the stupid love story with
they've recontextualized now other movies by making something canon that wasn't originally canon. And I'm that pisses me off because it bugs me for other movies.
But that's what you're missing. That's what I'm saying. The whole Across the Spider-Verse thing was canon events the event has to happen, and the event is someone saying that to Peter. It's not Ben. It's
I get
someone.
it, but it was implied that Ben had existed and already said that, and now
I don't remember it being implied. That
it was implied to a degree that event had already happened because Peter literally says, you know, when like the bad things happen and it happens because of you. That whole thing was referencing Ben Parker. He's guilty.
I mean, I think that's a stretch.
No, that's everything that he blames himself for all of his Spider-Man arcs and every single story. His first guilt is Ben dying. So for you to
but
write it that way.
No, but that could be Ben died and he feels bad that he wasn't able to stop it. That doesn't mean that Ben said with great power comes great responsibility.
Well, but see, that's another thing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's also something that isn't canon, that has been canon since Sam Raimi, that I still disagree with to this day. Uncle Ben never said that.
Okay. Well, then you really shouldn't have a problem with Aunt May saying it.
I have a problem with anybody saying it because it's not technically canon. It's one of those things that Stan Lee wrote in a byline on one of the comics, and then Sam Raimi put it into the script for the first movie, and then it's just hung on to every single movie. So people were upset that Andrew Garfield's didn't say it, but it actually didn't bug me because it got the same thing across by literally using a line of dialogue that was similar to the Ultimate Comics, because he didn't say it there either. And that's fine. As long as
this is why we have you. We have you to talk about the comic part, because I have not read, usually from the Ultimate Comic. I haven't read the Ultimate Comics and won't and don't care.
Oh, it's so good.
But someone listening might care. So what did it say on the Ultimate Comics?
I don't have the exact, I'm going to have to go look it up. But it's essentially him teaching him responsibility through a line of dialogue in the comics. And he doesn't.
Not that line of dialogue.
Just not that line of dialogue, because it was never something spoken by Uncle Ben. It was something written by Stan Lee in a byline. It's like, you know, it's like where he would go in and be like, remember, folks, yada, 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 something, Excelsior, bye.
Nevertheless.
Usually that's how it would go.
Nevertheless, bringing this all back around, I was excited about Kraven the Hunter. I think it was the first thing they really had done right since Spider-Man for the MCU, which really, I don't credit Sony for anything to do with Spider-Man in the MCU. That really wasn't
with almost messing it up.
I credit them with recognizing that we were about to blow it and we're going to do the right thing and let Marvel have control of the character. That's all I credit them with. So really, they haven't done anything right since handing it to Marvel, except for the cartoon.
I wish No Way Home fell through.
But Kraven, feels like they finally got it right. They finally got someone to put together a good story. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think they're killing it before it ever comes out tomorrow. They're killing it. And I think they already damaged it before that by even having the other bad movies come out. The Venom movies coming out, the Madam Web movie coming out. Those all damaged what Kraven could have been. I think it was
damaged the second No Way Home changed its storyline.
Maybe.
No Way Home was there was two storylines that they were toying around with, just like they're toying around like originally toying around with two things, street level and multiverse, with the fourth one. With No Way Home, they were toying around a Kraven storyline and a No Way Home storyline. The No Way Home one we got, the multiverse one. And I think the second that they decided to go with the multiverse storyline and not the Kraven one, and then decided to turn Kraven into a solo movie, that's where they messed up completely.
Well, but the Kraven solo movie is like a prequel.
Yeah, but because it's a prequel to Venom.
Well, no, it is actually the story of why he turns villain. Because he's not a villain to start the movie. I read the interview with Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's not a villain to start the movie. This is why he becomes a villain. So I really think there was something there. You can do that story right. Joker was done right. Joker 2 might have sucked, but Joker was done right. And I think you can do that becoming a villain story right. And what I've seen, I have so much hope that Kraven gets the respect it deserves after it leaves the theater, because obviously they killed it.
I have to see it first.
Obviously they killed it, but I have high hopes for it still. So we'll be reviewing that shortly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for me, I'm not so, what I'm shocked about is that they canceled it now because I was expecting Kraven to come out and then maybe like February, March, because they have they had a Sinister Six movie planned and that was the only one because they canceled El Muerto and they canceled Silver and Black and they canceled something else. So they had already canceled all their movies except for the Sinister Six one. So I was just expecting for like February, March to come around and then they'd be like, okay, we're done. This is whatever. I wasn't expecting one day before the movie releases to go, yeah, don't watch this movie. Like that's crazy.
I know that's insane to me why they would do that. In other news, Chris Evans is back for Doomsday.
Does not shock me. He has not revealed what his role is, though. That no one's revealed what his role is. That doesn't shock me that he signed on. I assume it's going to be Captain America to some extent. I assume it's going to be Captain America to some extent. Whether it's a Hydra evil Cap or a good Cap or a future Cap, or
the running theory is it's Captain Hydra.
I would be down to see that. Mostly the reason I say that is because it's Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. So I could see a sort of evil Cap. That would give Chris something to work with that isn't just normal Captain America. They also teased it in Endgame, and I've been wanting to see it ever since.
Yeah.
Especially since they made Sam the official Captain America going forward. And that's a key part of that storyline is that Cap comes back and he is, for like 2 runs, he's pretending to be good Captain America, but he's actually brainwashed. And it's all because of Secret Wars. The 2015 version, not the 19.
Yeah,
version.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, what they try to adapt here. But Chris Evans coming back is pretty exciting.
Oh, there was a theory that I did hear that I think actually might be interesting. That you might be interested in.
Tell me.
So you have, so apparently what they've set up so far is that they've set up a universe where the Avengers exist, a universe where the X-Men exist, and with this Fantastic Four movie, they're not in the 616 universe, they're their own separate universe. And they might be using Secret Wars, not to fully reboot, like some people think, but to soft reboot, and kind of did what Crisis on Infinite Earths did on the Arrowverse. Hopefully better, because they really fumbled that, but basically collide all of the 3 different universes together. That way they don't have to go back and explain how the X-Men exist or make up that the X-Men just now started existing, but essentially they exist in an alternate universe and now they're collided into one universe and their histories are just combined together into one history. And initially I didn't like that idea because I did want to see some storylines come to life. And the only way you could do that is if you do like a starter X-Men story or a starter Spider-Man story. But in like context to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who is going to have Spider-Man movies after Secret Wars, you can't do that if you start him back at, page 1 of chapter 1. You can't do it. It just doesn't work because then you're going to have people who are watching the movie going, wait, that's Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but why is he not acting the same from like the last point that we left him off in? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't think Tom Holland will be, I don't think he'll be Spider-Man forever.
I don't either, but I think they're going to leave it in long enough to introduce Miles and then have him be sort of, hopefully, because the best time that I've had with Miles and Peter as a duo is when the comics because in the comics currently, right, they see each other like once a year in the comics. They barely ever team up. And that sucks because I actually prefer it when Peter is training Miles and turning him into like a newer character so he can go off and be basically a Sam Wilson Captain America where he takes on the role himself later. One of the things I love is that he's not called Kid Arachnid like some other source materials will try to change him to. Like one of the recent Spider-Man cartoons tried to do that, change his name. He's just called Spider-Man. Like they're just both Spider-Man, and I like that. That's a cool thing to me. The most distinction that I think I would give it is that one is called Brooklyn Spider-Man, the other one is Manhattan Spider-Man, or Queens Spider-Man. So that's the difference, but they don't change the name of the hero, and I think that's cool. So, but if they do introduce Miles and have him going forward, I do want them to do that in a Peter story. I just don't want them to just drop Miles in and then Peter's just gone. That would suck.
That could be fun. I agree. I mean, they could do something like a live action version of Into the Spider-Verse.
Or, well, I would go with the games.
Whatever.
Well, I know you haven't played the games, but I'll give you like a brief rundown. They essentially exist in the same universe instead of the multiverse. And a lot of Peter's story actually affects Miles when he loses his dad because of something going on in Peter's life. And Mr. Negative is the main villain in that game and is basically the reason his dad dies. And then in 2, he actually has like a big fight between Mr. Negative and he end up not forgiving him per se, but just letting the anger go. It's a great arc. It's really cool. And that was all spoilers. I probably should say spoiler, but
not spoilers. I'm not playing the game, and the game's been out a long time now.
It's been out a year. Yeah. A little over a year, but, so I would like to see something. I don't want to see an exact adaptation of that, but I would like to see something similar where they exist and Peter's life affects him. And then sort of like,
well, they've already hinted that he's in the universe.
Yeah.
In Homecoming.
Oh, not even just Homecoming. In the Colombian version of Spider-Man No Way Home, in that final scene where he goes to do the swing, you can hear his neighbors' voices. And in the text, because it's English with the captions. In the text, it says something like, because she's speaking in Spanish. It's Miles's mom talking to Miles.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Like, I didn't even that's such a small detail. You wouldn't even notice it
without the captioning.
Yeah. Without watching that version of the movie.
That makes sense. But in Homecoming, I mean, Donald Glover literally mentions his nephew Miles.
Right. And then he appears in Spider-Verse. And they did call that MCU. That was MCU Spider-Man or MCU Prowler.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What else? Oh, Creature Commandos. Did you watch it?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 episodes in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 2 episodes in. The next one comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, I will watch all 3 tomorrow then.
I'm just gonna tell you, like,
is it good? Or are you?
I am not impressed.
Ooh.
I am not impressed. To me, if you're going to launch a universe out of this, you need some story and you need some character development. And instead, to me, it feels like James Gunn used the opportunity for gratuitous sex. And 2 episodes in, I still am not really sure why I'm watching it.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it being important to the universe, just that it's the first project in the universe.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm launching my first project in my universe, I want people to be excited about it. I know Blue Beetle's technically in it.
Well, August 4th. So the first one's technically the Suicide Squad, since now that's canon. The second one is Peacemaker, and then the third is Blue Beetle.
And all 3 of those are trash.
Lies.
So they're all 3 trash.
What? And Blue Beetle was good.
And so I'm watching this cartoon, and I'm just like, why are we spending 2 minutes on a sex scene between 2 cartoon characters? Like, this is not important.
Hold on. Did you not like Doom Patrol?
I didn't watch Doom Patrol yet.
I mean, it's not canon, but so you don't have to.
So I won't.
But it's good.
Okay, great.
It's the same stuff, though. I was actually going to say Creature Commandos.
But my point is, like, if I'm launching it, that's not the character development that I need. The character development that I need is what are these going to mean going forward to this universe you're building?
Well, there's 10 episodes, right?
I guess. I'm hoping that episode 3 starts to kick up the story, because episodes 1 and 2, not super impressive.
Well, let's say because like Game of Thrones had a lot of the same stuff though.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk Game of Thrones for a second. Game of Thrones, Jamie and
7
Cersei are having
episodes.
sex in the first episode.
Yeah.
But the whole purpose of that sets up the final scene, basically, one of the final scenes of the final season of Game of Thrones, because Brandon becomes king.
Well,
And Brandon becomes king because he becomes the three-eyed raven, and he becomes the three-eyed raven because Jamie shoved him out the window when he caught them having sex in the first episode.
It also starts off Jamie's original arc, which is about the things he would do for family.
Right.
Yeah. There's so many things set up with that
Right,
scene.
but that's what I'm saying. I see no point in the Creature Commando scene. There's no redeeming point at this point. Maybe there will be, but I watching it, I don't.
I think,
and it's not even just that. It's there are things that you can imply that you don't have to show.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of those types of scenes in the first 2 episodes. It's not one scene; it's multiple scenes in the first 2 episodes that are unnecessary and easily could have just been implied.
I think
so.
Henry Cavill said it best, which is he's probably he didn't get to do a lot of Superman, but I do actually respect him as Superman. And I do respect him as an actor because he does actually care about the things that he works on. And he didn't like some of the stuff that happened on a lot of different sets. But Henry Cavill was complaining the other day about how it feels like a lot of movies and TV shows are just using a lot of just gratuitous sex just for the sake of it.
And that is exactly that's my point.
He's like, I think it was so that he was saying basically he will never do like a gratuitous sex scene because it's
good
just
on,
there.
And good on him. And that's my point. Like Creature Commandos episode 2, without spoiling the content of the episode overall, there's a character who's in love with another character in the past, way back in the past. And so they have to show why they're estranged, which could have been implied, but there's a sex scene there that estranges them. And you could have just implied that happened without going and showing it like it graphically shows it.
Yeah, Doom Patrol did the same thing.
And there's
season.
no reason for if there's I'm okay with a sex scene if there's a reason for it. But there was no reason. This was easily implied.
The Doom Patrol version of that same kind of story arc is a lot shorter. I mean, it's like there for a minute and then it's gone. And it's not.
And I will say this for people who look at this and go, well, this is a cartoon, so my kids can watch it. I personally wouldn't let you as a 10-year-old watch Creature Commandos.
It's TVMA. I wouldn't have watched it anyway.
I'm just saying, like when we went to see Deadpool and there was a bunch of 6-year-olds in Deadpool because these parents were like, oh, Deadpool's on Disney as a cartoon character, and they didn't realize what they were about to expose their kids to. I would not recommend like young kids watching Creature Commandos. They can wait to start the DC universe until Superman comes out.
It makes me question whether Marvel really should double down on rated R. Actually, there was a time where I was like,
it depends on the movie.
There was a time where I was like, that'd be really cool because there's some stuff that only really works in rated R. Like, I would love to see an Age of Ultron story, but darker. Like, I felt like that didn't go far enough.
And that's why I think you will. We're going to find out tomorrow, but I think that's why you're going to like Kraven. The director was like, I can't tell this particular story how he becomes a villain if they don't give me the authority to make a rated R movie.
That's how Venom should have been. I think Venom should have been rated R.
He said, look, I'm not trying to be all Deadpool about it, but I can't make the story that I need to make without making a rated R movie. There is room for rated R movies. There's room for it in the right context. Like I remember when my dad, I remember when your grandpa used to, like, we were a church family with a Christian school, and the Christian school had a no rated R policy. Like your kids are not allowed to watch rated R movies and go to our school. And he would go, well, okay, look, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon is rated R, but it's not rated R for reasons that you can't watch it. And what was Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bloodsport's rated R, but it's not rated R for reasons that you can't see it.
Passion of the Christ?
Passion of the Christ would have been fine, but that's way past.
Well, yeah, you were an adult. But I mean, like, do you think he would? Yeah.
But yes, he would have totally been like, watch Passion of the Christ, even though it's rated R. He would not have cared.
Well, the story was also, I mean, just from the
I'm just, my whole point was there can be rated R movies that are not inappropriate. They might be violent.
Yeah.
But they're not just wildly inappropriate like Deadpool.
Yeah, I think I do want to see a Marvel movie that's rated R. I just don't want because one part of my problem is like back to I kind of bitch about Thor: Love and Thunder a lot, but I would not have loved to see that as a rated R movie at all.
No, it was bad enough what they did with it.
Yeah, it would have been Deadpool, but worse, like way worse. And I can't. I would never want to see that.
But I would have been okay with Infinity War and Endgame being rated R.
Yeah, Endgame especially, because they had a scene where they had Thanos from the past come to the future, like scripted out, where he drops Captain America's completely decapitated head on the ground.
Yeah, no,
and I'm like, that would have been cool.
That would have been rated R. It would have been dark, but I think it would have been appropriate for the tone of the movie.
Yeah. Well, he also was going to have a scene where he just decimates the Avengers from 2012 because he found out.
And to be honest, look, if more parents understood Deadpool, I don't think Deadpool's rated R was a bad thing because it was appropriate for the story. But it was appropriate for the story. And I think there are appropriate, but parents have to be more aware. The whole point of that being that the director of Kraven was just like, the story I'm telling is a dark story about why a guy becomes an evil person. It's necessary that I have the R rating, and that makes me excited about it because I don't think it's just going to be a.
It's kind of why I'm liking, I'm hoping it's like Logan. Like Logan will always be a cult classic. There will never be a time that
I think it'll be like Logan. The one movie that Fox ever did right.
Oh, well, come on. Like, that's disregarding Deadpool. That's disregarding X2.
I don't look, here's the deal. I think Deadpool stands on its own.
Yeah.
I don't give Fox credit for that. I give Ryan Reynolds credit for Deadpool, not Fox.
Yeah, he did. He's the only reason that movie even exists.
So the only movie that Fox did right was Logan. That was a Fox thing. Without Ryan Reynolds,
yeah,
Fox doesn't do Deadpool.
X2,
and they definitely don't do it right.
X2 was like the best of the X-Men films, though. Of the original X-Men films. What do you mean? X2 was good. X2 is the one with Nightcrawler.
I'm sitting here in silence.
X-Men was not that good. On rewatch, it was not that good.
Okay.
Like the casting was good, but the story was so bad.
Okay.
Like it is adapted from the comics, and I still think it's bad. Like
I'm not 100% convinced you're my son, but
dude, okay. Halle Berry gets one line in the entirety of the
that's a travesty. But when you look at her overall body of work for superhero work, she never did well in superheroes.
Okay, well, you're
Catwoman.
We don't talk about Catwoman. Because we also don't really talk about Batman Returns. I'm sorry. Batman Returns screwed up Catwoman.
Whoa.
No. Not the cat. No. Let me explain.
Michael Keaton?
No. Batman Returns did something wildly different with the two characters, the Penguin and the
Michael Keaton.
Yes. Let me get into it. Let me explain. All right. Because Catwoman is nothing like she was in that movie, in like the animated series or in the comics, which do her justice 10 times better. Michelle Pfeiffer's hot. Don't get me wrong. She did a great job with what she was given. But they literally adapted the same storyline from Batman Returns to the Catwoman movie. I'm sorry, they did. They just changed the names and gave it a different actress. And they're bad. It's not a good story. The Batman Returns movie, for what it was in the time that it came out, was a phenomenon. That's fair.
It's the last good Batman movie until Christopher Nolan decided to step in and fix it. You had Batman. You had Batman Returns, and then there was never a good Batman movie again until Christopher Nolan.
Look, all right.
We're not doing that in this episode.
Oh,
we're not doing that in this episode. We'll do a whole episode comparing Batman movies. And we can even do that in the same episode where we talk about Penguin, which we're gonna do real soon. But we're not gonna spend we don't have the time today to spend on that, so we're not going down that rabbit hole.
Okay, fine. All right. But just
we'll do a whole episode on Batman.
We should, because the history and legacy of Batman is insanely complex and not good in context to today, where we are today.
Okay.
In animation, it is.
Okay.
But we'll get into it later. I have a whole set of opinions on that.
So, along with the reveal of Chris Evans to Doomsday, Benedict Cumberbatch has also come out and said there's a whole lot more story of me in Doomsday, so he is also definitely playing a big part there.
I don't know how much I have of care left I have for Doctor Strange right now. Just because he got sidelined in his own movie. In two, he got sidelined a lot.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people love Benedict Cumberbatch, but I don't see him as a movie star. And the mistake made there was they put him up against a true movie star.
Who?
Elizabeth Olsen is a star.
She's not the main character of that story. She is, but she isn't. She's the antagonist. No.
But she took over the story.
She did, but America Chavez also overtook the story.
Yeah, well, there is truth to that. What I'm saying is he's not a star. I don't think he carries a movie. I think he's a great.
Did we watch the same Doctor Strange, the first one?
Yeah, I don't think he carries a movie well by himself. I don't. Without the ancient one, without Wong.
Did you watch the Doctor Strange episode of What If?
I don't think that he carries a movie well.
He carried that. That was great.
Hear me. To me, he's a great support character. Let's talk about, for instance, Infinity War.
Oh my God, he was so good in that one, and then Endgame just wrecked him by making him go stand at a.
In Infinity War, he was a great support character against a Robert Downey Jr. He was a great support character.
They play off each other really well.
They do. In Multiverse of Madness, he's a great support character to his antagonist, which is weird. But she took over that movie. Truly,
I can't agree with that. I think
he does not, in my opinion, he's not expressive enough. He has the same face for everything. He's very dry.
What?
He's very dry. And you watch the range of emotion that she goes through, from anger to sadness to grief.
Again,
she takes over the screen with whoever she's on the screen with.
But they also, you got to remember that script literally nerfed everything that he was supposed to have in that.
But I don't care. I don't care. They did do some things with him. Like, all of Kamar-Taj is destroyed. And Doctor Strange is like, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah, because they literally moved on.
He literally moved on with no problem. I'm not
talking about him. I'm talking about the fact that they literally just jumped to the next character. They didn't give him time to do anything. It's like the director literally just was like, okay, we did all this stuff with Elizabeth.
Because I don't think he has the capability to show that range.
He does.
He does.
Did you watch Sherlock?
No.
Then don't.
No.
Then don't, because he does. He does have the range. I think that literally the movies just don't give him the time to do it. And that's because they literally stuck America Chavez in a lead role over Doctor Strange in his own movie. That's insane.
I just don't think he's able to carry it.
And
I think he has to be. And that's why the next Doctor Strange movie with Clea,
I think that
he is not going to carry that movie either. She will carry that movie.
I think you would have a different opinion if they used the original script. If they used the original script, which gave Doctor Strange like a ton more screen time, he was the main character in that story. There was no.
You may or may not be right, but it doesn't matter because they didn't use that script.
I know.
He has not been in a movie that he personally has carried and shown range.
He did
He's
in
the
Doc-
same. He's the
He
same
did in
person he
Doctor.
was.
What are you? No, in Doctor Strange, he literally carried that movie.
One scene.
No, multiple scenes.
One scene he showed range. The scene where he finally blew up on his girlfriend.
He blows up on several people. It's not just his girlfriend. He goes.
That's really
He literally
the only
acts
time.
in desperation. Like he literally goes down a path of desperation to a degree where he's like visibly depressed. Like you can tell just from looking at him that he is failing.
I don't think he showed it that well.
He did a great job.
Just my opinion. Hey, it's my opinion.
It is your.
I don't
it's
think
your
he showed
opinion.
it that
It's your
well. I
opinion.
don't think that he displays emotion that well on the screen.
It's your slightly wrong opinion, but it's your opinion.
So, well, it is what it is. So
I think I'm going to stick with it though. I think he literally just does not get the screen time he deserves. Like in Infinity War, they gave him the perfect amount of screen time. Like he gets to be a main character for a bit in that movie, even though he doesn't overshadow anyone. There is moments where he gets to carry a scene, and I do like.
I don't think he ever carries. I think he's a great supporting actor. That's what I think.
That's crazy. All right, I will
it's
say
bad when you become the supporting actor in your own movies.
in the first movie he wasn't a supporting actor.
He was in support of everybody else in the movie.
And no, you got to rewatch the movie. I'm not going to go back over the movie.
Wong was not his supporting actor. He was Wong's supporting actor.
What are you talking?
The ancient one.
No.
The ancient
You're
one.
just trying to rile
the
me up.
ancient one.
Stop,
The ancient one overshadowed him the entire time she was on the screen.
Oh my god, no! She doesn't even have as many scenes as Doctor Strange.
The villain was stronger than him.
The
villain was a stronger presence than him.
No, he literally. What are you talking? He beats the villain.
His girlfriend was a stronger presence than him.
Stop. Okay, no, you're just setting me off.
I'm talking about presence. I'm not talking about what they did in the movie.
Yes, in
their
presence
was
literally
was stronger than him
his
every time.
best moment in the entire movie is when he goes to Dormammu and uses time to beat Dormammu. And his presence in that scene is insane. Like, because you literally see him go from not knowing how to use magic to literally creating a time loop to beat a god. Like
You're talking about script. I'm talking about his
presence on screen.
Physical presence on the screen was not all that impressive.
That doesn't make sense.
The script is good. The Doctor Strange script is really good. His physical presence on the screen leaves something to be desired.
I don't think anyone could have done it better.
I don't know.
I don't think anyone could have pulled off Doctor Strange. I mean, I maybe there's someone, but like it's just a role. Who was Dr. Fate in Black Adam? Do you remember?
I don't, but I can look it up real quick. But why?
Because he kind of looks the part, but just from his acting,
I think they used an older guy.
They did. He kind of looks the part, but like his acting in Black Adam is exactly why I couldn't see him being Doctor Strange. Like, okay, for instance, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange is very much, we need to send them home. He's acting in like, this is a really bad situation. You're dragging this out to help people that need to go home, and you're risking everyone's lives to do so. And he's very serious about that. He very much conflicts with Peter almost the entire movie until the very end. I don't think anyone else could have done that, because he, at the same time as he's doing that, he's still treating Peter like a human being. Like he doesn't go straight to, I don't care about human life at all. He just looks at it very pragmatically and goes, look, my job is to protect the multiverse. And this is putting so many lives in danger, and you're risking it over 5 people.
Well, I don't know, but I will say this. Pierce Brosnan was Dr. Fate.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but he was not a good doctor.
He would not have been a good Doctor Strange.
I don't think he would have been a good Doctor Strange. He kind of looks the part again. Like, I think he could look the part. But
the best thing he ever did was when he was James Bond. He was a great James Bond. He didn't play James Bond long enough.
Why was Dr. Fate, and why do they treat Dr. Fate like James Bond? They also treated Hawkman like James Bond, actually, like Batman, which is so dumb that
I think largely it was a misunderstanding of all the characters in that. We've talked about that in the past.
We have. It frustrated me so much.
Not really on microphone so much, but we've talked about in the past how DC never seemed to understand their characters. Warner Brothers never seemed to understand the DC characters.
DC understands it. I don't think Warner Brothers ever got it. I think Zack Snyder also was a big problem there because you could tell what he read and how he misinterpreted what he read.
And that happens a lot. I think people become fans of something but they interpret it in their way, and it's not always the way that the hardcore fans interpret it. And so then it doesn't come off the way that most of the hardcore fans want to hear it.
For example, Batman versus Superman misses the mark on The Dark Knight Returns so hard, but mostly because I think he saw that and went, Batman's edgy and dark. And he misses the part where Batman holds a gun over his head and then breaks it in half and says, these are the weapons of cowards. Like, this is we don't use guns. But then in his movie, right, Batman has mounted machine guns on the Batmobile. He's blowing up cars with people in them, whether or not they're criminals. He doesn't care. He's just shooting literal machine guns at people. Like, and then he uses a gun against Superman. And it's just like,
there's only one word that you can say about Batman and Superman. Martha.
Okay, that was actually a well done scene.
So stupid.
No, it's well done.
So stupid.
He uses it.
Save Martha.
What you're missing from that?
Why do you know her name?
He uses Batman's PTSD against him.
Stupid.
That is clever. That is actually clever. That's the only time.
Our moms are the same name, so now I'm not going to kill you.
You're missing the importance of that scene. Like, you're using it over, it's a silly line, but like, it worked. It works, and it's very effective. He literally just uses his PTSD to stop him and then to humanize with him.
It's stupid.
To sympathize. No, it works. It's the one thing in the movie that works. The only problem is that when you use that scene, you're trying to imply that Batman doesn't see Superman as a human and that he values human life. And so when he realizes that Superman has a mother and that he is he's closer to a human than most humans, he's supposed to change his mind. But what you're missing is that Batman doesn't value human life. He is shooting guns at people. He's killing people. He doesn't care. He literally spent the whole movie murdering a bunch of people. He brands a guy to have him.
But as long as you have the same name as my mom, then I will stop hating you.
No. What you're missing, he brands people so they can get SA'd or like murdered in prison. That's not okay. But then like, you're supposed to use that scene. That's why it's stupid. It's not stupid because of the scene itself.
It's stupid to imply that because their moms have the same name, he suddenly changes his mind on killing him.
Oh my God. That's not what they were implying.
If Superman said, save Annie, Batman would have been like, who the F is Annie? I'm not saving anybody. I kill people for a living.
That's dumb. That's not the point. The point of the scene is that, yes, they're both dumb. It sets off his PTSD. That's the whole point.
Okay, I hear you. All right, guys, we gotta call it quits today. Hope you liked what you heard. If you did, like, share, subscribe.
It's crazy to me that you can praise Iron Man 3 for showing off PTSD in a great way, and then when it's
still going.
I'm sorry, but in a scene where they use PTSD in a good way, and you're criticizing it because
we're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're obviously gonna argue about things with comics, but what we're gonna do the most is have a good time talking all things comics, books, movies, TV shows, Comic-Cons. And we hope you'll come along for the ride. We really enjoy doing this with you. And like I said, like, share, subscribe. You can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts.